All right, so we're going to wrap up this unit and this course with unit 9 point or section 9.6, which is going to deal with succession and human interference with the ecosystem. So ecological succession is a change in types of species in a community over time. So ecosystems are going to exhibit change as we have studied. And with this change, new species are going to move into them and older species will disappear or move to other areas. Plants can change the landscape. Plants are the ones that are responsible for changing rock to gravel and then gravel eventually to sand and sand eventually to soil, so on and so forth. And plants, of course, create the new habitats for animals. Primary succession is going to be when an ecosystem starts from rock, shouldn't be Rick, starts from rock and typically from the formation of new land. So we see this type of succession, uh, say after a volcanic eruption or a new islands formed from volcanic eruption. So this is when a ecosystem is starting with brand new rock, a brand new ground. First species to inhabit this new rock are going to be known as pioneer species. And typically, these are going to be lichens and mosses. And these are plants that can live on the rock. And in a very slow process, they will break down that rock into soil over time by breaking that rock into smaller rocks, gravel, sand, so on and so forth. After a while, you begin to see some soil formed, and then you'll start seeing some small grasses and really short shrubs. And then this is going to further push the process of creating soil as there's more root systems beginning to push through the rocky soil. So what you see here is rock, and then a layer of soil really beginning, especially down here towards the bottom, build up, kind of gravelly type soil, but it is sustainable for some grasses and some shrubs. Eventually, you begin to see evergreens. So evergreens are trees, also known as pine trees. These will be the first trees to move into the area. The reason being is because they have a shallow root base and they grow fairly quickly. Pretty hardy trees. Eventually, you begin to see hardwood trees. And they need deeper roots to grow, and they also require longer growing time, so they need a lot more soil, and the soil can't really be too terribly rocky for these trees to grow. The climax community is the highest level of a community to move into an area. Typically, hardwood trees are going to be the climax community. And then we have secondary succession. And so the difference between secondary succession and primary succession is we're not starting with brand new ground. We're not starting with brand new rock. So secondary succession is when a community starts over at the soil level, usually after a disaster like a fire or a flood. Succession usually never stops in a given ecosystem, as even the climax community dies off at some point. So humans in the environment. So as humans have grown exponentially for the last 1,000 years, we have taken our toll on the ecosystem. So we've outgrown our carrying capacity, so to speak. So we'll talk about some pros that humans do and some cons that humans are causing. One positive that humans have done and really kind of pushed here recently is this recycling, which is taking materials and repurposing them for the same or a different reason. I should say or for the same or a different reason. For the same or different reason. Um, we see this, of course, with plastics for a while. Paper, cardboard has been that way, and we're also starting to see it with electronics and a lot of components in electronics that can be recycled and used for new electronics, especially the magnets. Humans have also made a push here recently and continue to make a big push towards renewable resources. These are resources that continually renew themselves and won't deplete as long as again, sin should be sun exists. The big one right now is battery powered cars. Okay, that's going to be and is a major push in the industry right now. And also some other alternative forms of energy that is not gasoline based. Pollution is a negative side effect of what humans or the amount that humans have grown here recently. So this is the introduction of materials into the natural environment that could cause damage. It could be trash, it could be runoff, it could be air pollution, anything along those lines. Another negative is habitat reduction. So as humans have grown and built cities and towns and roads, it's also caused a reduction in ecosystems for animals, not annuals, caused animals to lose their habitat and also have some disturbances in their habitat. One way to look at this, it kind of hits close to home, is the amount of deer that's hit along the highways in this area. It's because the roads run through their habitat and they're used to traveling that area for years and years and years. And now there's a road there, and so there's a lot of uh, issues for both the animal and the humans in those areas. This leads to a loss of biodiversity, and we've talked about the negative impacts of loss of biodiversity. All right, so a lot of our medicine and medical practices are based off of the biodiversity that we study in the wild. So, reduction in the number of species in an ecosystem can cause imbalances and reduction of resources. You have endangered species, which are some species have become threatened by human involvement, like poaching for fur, tusk, etc. And also, humans have introduced non-native species, which are species that did not involve in a particular ecosystem but are able to thrive in that ecosystem. And this causes an imbalance in that ecosystem's trophic level. Um, One kind of close example that's an issue, not just Kentucky Lake, but also Reelfoot Lake, is the Asian carp. Asian carp is not native to that area, but it thrives in those lakes, and it's the number one competitor for bass in those lakes. And bass are typically the apex predators as far as fish are concerned in those lakes, but with the addition of the Asian carp, we start seeing bass numbers decrease, which are the native species to those lakes. We can also see a loss of genetic diversity, and we are seeing this. So this is a loss of different types of genes in a population, and this can lead to the extinction of species that are unable to adapt to the new environment that may be created quickly by humans. Global warming is the last one, and this is an increase of average temperatures of the biosphere. This is at least partially caused by human interactions. Uh, Burning of fossil fuels, other fuels, day-to-day human life is called the carbon footprint, partially plays a role into the increased temperature of the Earth. So that is the end of Unit 9 and the course. So there is one more form to do, and then we'll have Unit 9 exam. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.